Next up, I'm talking about bushfires and rain. I think that this is a great uncovered news story of the last little while. Maybe it's a coronavirus thing, maybe things have just distracted us, but I think maybe it doesn't fit the narrative, right? Because it's about rain and we're not supposed to have rain. But let me just tell you what I mean. This is an article from the 11th of December 2019 in The Australian. It says there will be no relief for drought-ravaged regions over the summer, with Bureau of Meteorology officials telling a meeting of state and federal ministers there would be no significant rain until at least April. New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria are looking very lean, this is a quote now, for rain and below average rainfall through summer and heading into next winter, New South Wales Agriculture Minister Adam Marshall said of the Bureau of Meteorology briefing. The outlook is nothing for New South Wales anywhere near drought breaking until April to May next year. Well, we're about to hit April, by the way, so what's happened between then and now is kind of significant to the validity of what he's just said. The bushfires were ramping up at that stage. We all know what happened next, how bad it got. And much was said about the fact these fires may not go out for many, many months because of the weather predictions, because of what the Bureau was saying and all the rest of it. And this were no doubt sincere and earnest and honest predictions. And in January, things got totally desperate. But you know, then everything changed. Since I've been taking a break from filming, February's rainfall figures have been aggregated, they've been reviewed, they've been published. Let me take you through just some of them. And this is really interesting. Rainfall was above average for the nation as a whole and above average in every individual state except Western Australia, which was very slightly below average, 8% below average. And that actually was due to figures from the far northwest and the interior of the state. New South Wales was the absolute standout, with the highest February rainfall on record in many areas, and as a statewide, 104% above average. Victoria was 65% above average. These are huge above average figures, but back to New South Wales, effectively the entire east of the state and moving into the central north, and also they were all classified as very much above average by the Bureau of Meteorology, and above average for most of the central and west of the state, below average only in a very small pocket of the far northwest. In Victoria, we had above average or very much above average for most of the state except parts of the north where it was average. Queensland, highest on record for some areas in the south, only very small pockets of below average in the state's north and west. South Australia, average to very much above average throughout the south, east and centre, with below average in the largely unpopulated west of the state. Interestingly, Kangaroo Island, where the bushfires were, above average. New South Wales had the wettest February since 2012 and the wettest month since September 2016. Sydney had its biggest four-day rainfall figure since 1990 with 392 millimetres. Across the state, fully 59 locations recorded their highest daily figure for February on record. Some of these records have stood for over 100 years. You've got Oberon, 115-year record, Wingham, 131-year record was broken, Prospect Reservoir, 134-year record was broken, Golspie, 120-year record, Taralga, Post Office, 132-year record, Braidwood broke 121-year record, Lower Boro, 109 years, Bringelly, 148 years, Richmond, 137 years, Katoomba, 134 years, and so on. 67 stations, in addition, recorded their highest February total on record. So the last bunch was, they had the highest day for a February day on record. This is the highest February total on record in 67 locations, including Taralga Post Office, Tweedheads Golf Club, which had held those records for more than 130 years in each case. And in fact, the shortest period of time that the record has stood for with those 67 locations was 20 years. Speaking of which, 20-year records, so not records of all time, but 20-year records were broken at 91 locations. Many of these falls were recorded in bushfire areas, with very much above average being the classification for rainfall on large sections of the fire fields in New South Wales. Now, I'm not going to keep you all day with facts and figures, but let me make some honourable mentions elsewhere. Victoria had its wettest February since 2012. 20-year records were broken in, oh gosh, I've got to say these names, Medallia, someone will correct me, Branxholme, Brunswick, Merino and Dargo, and Stratford. Fire fields again largely got a good drenching. By February the 13th, in fact, every fire in the nation was under control or extinguished. Just astounding stuff. Queensland, very wet. Wettest February day recorded in 14 places, including Warwick. And I just say that because I actually visited Warwick in December last year. Hi to the guys that I saw out there. But just devastating to see the impact of the drought. I couldn't believe it. And it was so hot. It was just crazy. But there you go. Highest February totals on record in 21 places, again, including Warwick. It's February totals, not just the rainiest day for a February day. February totals. Some of the records in Queensland there in those 21 places were over 100 years old. 20-year Queensland records were broken in 43 places. In South Australia, if I aggregate, I've been talking about three categories of records. One has been the wettest day for a February day. One has been the wettest February. And the other one has been the wettest February in 20 years. If you aggregate those three kinds of records, we had 17 of them in South Australia, 7 of them in Tasmania, 7 in the Northern Territory, and 50 in Western Australia. And sorry, WA, I know you're going to feel left out. I don't go through all those 50, or at least some of them, but so 50 in Western Australia. Now, March is not as spectacular as February, that is true. But it's actually looking really good for New South Wales. It's looking pretty good for large parts of Victoria. But interestingly, not so much in the really urbanised and built up areas. So in New South Wales, when you've got this sliver of land down the east coast, the far eastern seaboard, below average for March. But then you've got the centre and the far west, and particularly the northwest that got very low rain in February, has got heaps and heaps of rain. And the same in Victoria, you've got northern and central Victoria looking way above average, but the corners of the southwest and the southeast, yeah, that's going to look different to you, isn't it? Southwest and southeast, it should be. Anyway, southwest and the southeast are missing out. And interestingly, across all states, the areas that missed out in February, and there's not many of them, have received rain in March in most cases. And now I say all of this, and I just aggregate some of that data, which I'm just so thrilled to have been able to read. I say it because it's tremendous news. Nobody predicted it. It wasn't expected. The horror of fire and drought looked like it would never leave us, and in fact it could still be with us here in March with no significant rainfall. And yet, pretty much exactly 2 months after the Bureau of Meteorology said that, and right bang in the middle of the season that they said was going to be worse, look what happened. And I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to ask what changed. At risk of being laughed at, but I don't care. What changed? Unpopular but true answer. I happen to know that Christian people in this nation were praying in unprecedented numbers and in an unprecedented and an organised way, and that's a simple fact. May we not, therefore, those of you who believe what I just said, and if you don't, you should, because it is what it is. May we not become those who cry out to God in our day of trouble, receive His mercy, and then forget all about it. I'm not seeing much on this subject, not enough on this subject, not enough rejoicing on the subject. No gratitude, and that's a shame. And maybe that's not true in the churches, but I raise it because it's a fact, and it's been a remarkable February. It's going to be backed up with a very interesting March, and maybe I'll look at those figures when they come out and get properly reviewed, but looking good in some of the needy areas. Praise be to God for sending rain in the face of the worst bushfire season we'd seen in a very, very long time. I'm Mark Niles, and that was the truth of it from my apartment. First time try. Trust it went well, and see you next time. Hey guys, make sure you click like to like the video, or hit the subscribe button down here and click on the bell so you don't miss any notifications. And to watch more videos, just click here. Cheers. Go on, click one. You know you want to.